Hello, my name is Graveyard Daddy, and today we're going to be reviewing episode 2 of The Last of Us. This will contain no spoilers for any future episodes. And we begin in Jakarta, Indonesia, the same place we previously heard about on the radio. And a woman is taken in broad daylight, seemingly without even having been asked her name. They know her name, they know her profession, and they know where she works. She's taken to a lab to examine a specimen, and before anything is explained to her, they make sure that she draws her own conclusions. She recognizes the specimen and asks why it was prepared with chlorozole. Chlorozole black being used to stain specimens to make it easier to see their organelles and cell walls. When she's told it's a human sample, there's an incredulous, almost mocking look in her face. She suits up and proceeds with the examination. She examines the left leg and we see a human bite mark. We can see that something is growing inside. She slices it open and we can see the mycelium inside. She reaches in through the mouth and pulls out a still living specimen. Her worst fears are confirmed. She asks for more information about when and how it happened, and finds out it happened in a place with the perfect conditions for growth and spread. As the conversation continues, her words get quieter and quieter, down to a whisper. They tell her that the people she attacked needed to be killed just hours later. She asks who the original source was, but they don't know. Apart from her and the ones bitten, 14 others are already missing from the same factory. And we see her hand shake as she receives the news that seals their fate. They finally tell her why they've brought her in, to find a cure or medicine. And calmly, she explains what they must do.
Bom, mulailah pengeboman. Bom seluruh kota dan seluruh orang yang ada di dalamnya.
The general is horrified by her words, and she asks to be taken to her family for what will surely be her and this city's final moments. Ellie wakes up and we see Tess and Joel watching her like hawks. Joel raises his gun as Ellie gets up, so she sits back down. And they see her arm again to see if the infection is progressing. We find out that cities are dangerous, and we find out more about Ellie being found by Marlene and how she saved her. Tess asks about how she was tested, and Ellie avoids the question, so Tess asks again. Ellie doesn't seem to realize that
I'm trying to keep you alive.
Ellie stands, and Joel does too. She doesn't seem to realize just how much Joel wants to kill her. So Tess gives her permission, and Joel lowers his weapon. She asks,
"There's not gonna be anything bad in here?"
Just you.
We see Joel's hand is broken from what he did to the soldier. And Tess pleads with Joel, but he doesn't care. He doesn't believe she's immune. Joel wants to give up on Ellie, but Tess isn't willing to give up on this. Joel, in this moment, truly believes that Ellie is already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. Tess approaches Ellie, and Joel tries to stop her. Tess keeps trying to get more information from Ellie, and she threatens to take her back. Ellie smugly tries to scare them into thinking they won't get their battery, so Tess talks to her like an adult and tells her the truth about them. So Ellie gives in and tells them the truth, that they're taking her out west to make a cure. And Joel believes it's all bullshit as he finishes her sentence. They've heard this all before, and Joel knows.
This isn't gonna end well, Tess.
But Tess refuses to give up and convinces Joel to go along with it. And Ellie makes a joke that could get her killed.
Don't.
And finally, reluctantly, Joel agrees. And we see that Indonesia wasn't the only place that was bombed. Most large cities were taken out to try to slow the infection. We see that they aren't far from their destination. Before they decide on which route they're going to take, they first verify their route from above.
So it was just you
Ellie
and them,
tells
huh?
them about how she got bitten, and she sniffles as she thinks back. We learn about swarms of infected roaming through cities. We hear about super-infecteds that explode, but Joel and Tess have never seen them before. We also hear of others that are blind and use echolocation to find their prey. And as we hear someone dying in the distance, highway or not, the city will take its toll. They arrive at the hotel and it's full of water. Ellie is worried about not knowing how to swim, and Joel makes fun of her.
No, smartass. I mean,
I don't know how I was supposed to know that.
And as Ellie plays pretend, she finds a dead body. Ellie is still just a kid. So she apologizes, and Joel gives her a hand. Once they reach the 10th floor, we see that their path is blocked by a collapse. So Tess slips through and finds a way, while Joel and Ellie stay behind. Joel compliments her knife, and Ellie sasses Joel. Ellie asks about Joel and Tess's relationship, but Joel doesn't want to answer. She asks a question, and after Joel gives her a bit of sass, he answers her.
well, I thought you went to school.
He tells her about the infected, how some only last a few months, and others have been around since the beginning. And she asks about the man that Joel killed to save her, but she doesn't get an answer. Ellie sees that the infected are connected to each other as they move in waves. Tess explains about how they're connected.
You step on a patch of cordyceps in one place, and you can wake a dozen infected from somewhere else. Now they know where you are, now they come. You're not immune from being ripped apart.
With their path full of infected, their only choice is to take the path they called certain death. So we see the museum, which is totally covered in cordyceps. Joel smashes the mycelium, and it appears to be dry. And Tess tells Ellie to stay behind them if anything happens. Inside, they see the infected on the ground, and the body of someone who was recently killed. His body was torn apart, and Tess tries to cope through the situation. Ellie speaks, and immediately we see that Joel and Tess know what did it. And Joel explains that from that moment forward, and emphasizes how important it is. As they climb, the building shakes, and Ellie steps on a hand. And as they step through, the roof collapses, and their escape route is blocked off. There is no turning back here. And then they hear it. And see it in front of them. And then another. And Joel explains as much as he can without saying a word. Joel sees Ellie is having a hard time and again tries to help her calm down. Ellie closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. But when she opens her eyes, it's too much for her, and one small gasp is all it takes. Joel shoots and tells them to run, putting himself in danger. And as a second comes their way, Joel's weapon is knocked out of his hands and he dodges an attack. As the second makes its way towards Tess and Ellie, Tess fires a shot and tells Ellie to run to get its attention. Ellie crawls away desperately as Joel runs and guns. Joel knocks over a statue to create a noise as a distraction, and it loses track of him. He reloads silently, and we see it right next to him, but luckily it moves away. Joel finds Ellie and tries to lead her to safety, but he steps on a glass and they are once again attacked. Joel manages to fight it off and he unloads every shot. Another charges at them and Joel moves Ellie behind him to protect her. Tess manages to hit it with an axe, and Joel picks up the weapon he dropped earlier to finish it off. But before he finished it off, we see that there was blood in its mouth. Tess says she only sprained her ankle, and we see that Ellie was bitten again. But in that moment, she is thankful that it was her who was bitten and not the others. Tess wants to get out of there quickly, and just like when she was injured before, Joel takes care of Tess. Joel is once again suspicious of Ellie, but Tess is done with Joel's pessimistic attitude. Tess wants to hope, and we see that Tess is hurting. As Ellie and Joel admire the view, Tess, someone who just injured her ankle, rushes past them, in pain but not willing to slow down. Joel looks down at his watch and proceeds behind them. Joel sees Ellie's wound, and Tess continues to rush ahead of them. They arrive, but no one seems to be at the rendezvous point. And as Joel sees blood in a truck, he warns them back, and they find a trail of blood leading inside. Tess rushes inside with reckless abandon, and we find that the fireflies that they were supposed to meet are all dead. Tess desperately looks for a radio, a way to communicate with any other fireflies. And we see that one of them was bitten and hid the infection, and so everyone ended up dying. She once again asked Ellie where they were taking her, desperate to get more information. She asks for Joel's help, and he says,
Joel, can you help me?
No! Tess! It's over!
And Joel doesn't realize just how right he actually is. Tess loses her temper and says,
I'm staying. I mean, our luck had to run out sooner or later.
and in that moment, Joel and Ellie realize what's happened.
She's infected.
And as Tess is about to take a step towards Joel, he flinches. And we see where Tess was bitten less than 20 minutes ago. She tells Ellie to remove her bandage, and we see the clear difference in the bite marks. She begs Joel to take her to Bill and Frank so that they can take it from there. And she says,
I never ask you for anything, not to feel the way I felt, not to you shut the fuck up because I don't have time. This is your chance. You get her there. You keep her alive. And you set everything right. All the shit we did. Please say yes, Joel. Please.
she loves Joel, but Joel couldn't love her back. And we see why he didn't want to talk about his relationship with Tess to Ellie. But before we can even process the emotions of the situation, the cordyceps feel movement and start to rush towards them. And earlier we saw that it was only a 10-minute walk to get there. How long will it take the cordyceps infected to rush there? So Tess knocks over fuel containers and she spreads around explosives. And her final words to Joel are,
Say who you can say.
Joel takes Ellie and drags her out with him, but Ellie doesn't want to leave Tess behind. Ellie finally realizes that Tess really did want to
Keep you alive.
Tess desperately tries to ignite the lighter to set a fire, and finally she manages to light it up and set it off. We see the building explode behind them, and with that, Tess's final act to save them. Without a word, Joel turns around and keeps going. This episode showed us how people were infected by the food supply and shows us how the brave words from an old woman willing to sacrifice herself and her family gave this world a fighting chance. How the bombings helped prevent the spread to the city that Joel, Ellie, and Tess were going through. And while in the beginning there was some hesitancy from Tess, by the end, she is a true believer. She doesn't want her life and actions to be in vain. We see that Joel really doesn't believe that Ellie is immune and is only convinced by Tess's final words. And Tess asked Joel to keep Ellie alive. We see how truly terrifying the infection can be and how hard they are to kill. We see how truly broken Joel has become as a result of his loss, not even being able to return Tess's love. And it's heartbreaking. But what do you think Tess meant by not feel the way I felt? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hello everyone, thank you for watching my video. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, please hit that like button, share, and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. My name is Graveyard Daddy, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.